Browns 0-8 at home. Just sad.
I haven't heard you this down since Dr. Brown got fired. It's a game that we were in, and it's a game that we just don't finish.
I don't want to watch anymore.
Why? Why does that happen? I'm so sick of watching those plays.
0-16.
I definitely do not want to watch it all 22.
That's up and down to me. That looks like dysfunction. Welcome back, Survivors, Season 3, Episode 23. This is Surviving the Season, live from the Baywater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I'm Adam, and Greg's here.
Yo, live from my son's bedroom, sitting on the floor, getting real comfortable right now. He's sleeping, just dad and son day here at the house.
Perfect.
So it's time to get in a pod.
Yeah, we can talk about the Browns. What do we got here? Sort of a quarter. We're 4 games in the season. The first quarter is down, you might say. We're 1-2-1. We could be 4-0. We could be 0-4.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that too. That could literally go any way at this point. We could have been 4-0 had everything bounced the right way, and absolutely we could be 0-4. Had things bounced the wrong way. So it's really all the games have been good. There's been stuff to look at, a lot of positives with this team, and there's still a lot of things they got to get fixed going forward. So we're a young team. That's the best part, the best way to look at that and go, hey, these guys, there's really only one way for these guys to go, and that's up, because we're just so young and we're still improving. We have a rookie quarterback, plenty of rookies that are contributing on this team. And I'm looking forward to, getting these guys into the middle of the season and seeing where we progress. But yeah, we'll take a look today at sort of the first quarter, little look at offensively and defensively, what we're doing good and what we're doing bad. But I just want to start off with talking about the Raiders game a little bit. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay. One, I've watched the fumble, or not the fumble. I watched the first down, Carlos Hyde to end the game run at least 50 times from every single possible angle that you could watch it. I've studied it. There is no doubt in my mind that he has that first down. Did you have a chance to go back and look at it yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think. It does look like his left sort of forearm and elbow is going to go down, and then he sort of tucks it back up.
That's right. He brings it up. Exactly. That's the
I just don't know how they overturn it. That's really the most frustrating part of that whole thing, is there's no way to tell if they're just going, well, he's short, but you can't just randomly just go drop the ball out there. Like, oh, okay, he didn't make the first down, we're just going to put the ball here. Like, that's not how replay on a spot works. If you're going to change the spot, you have to know exactly where the spot is. You don't just go, well, he's short of the first down, let's just pick.
Yeah, which blade of grass did they identify to nudge that ball up to, which didn't make sense. There's no the hash is all the way at the top of the screen. They're playing like there's nothing to really mark that exactly that's right next to his body. But yeah, it's the phantom elbow. If you look at his elbow, it looks like it's going to go down. So it looks from the side view, that can 100% absolutely look like his elbow's down. But if you go to the opposite view that they show, you see that his elbow's not down there. He's still going forward, but you could view that from that perspective, from the first perspective, the side view, that his elbow's down, but it's not. He still is going forward, and then his elbow and forearm come down simultaneously. Because I've heard people say, well, once his forearm goes down, he's down. His elbow and forearm hit simultaneously, and there is no way that the only way that the ref could have said that is short is if he used the yellow line from the game, the actual broadcast, saying, well, he's short of that yellow line. If you go back to the beginning of that play and you watch that yellow line, the yellow line moves 6 inches from the beginning of the play to the end of the play. That is not an official mark. It is the phantom first down line, and it's the phantom elbow that basically causes the game. How they overturn it, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to touch on this very long, but I'm telling you, I watched it 50 times. There's no chance in hell that you can overturn it. You can sit there and argue it's really close. It's really goddamn close. But you can't. There's no way you can tell me 100% certainty that he's short of that line.
If it was the Raiders and they had called it short and then changed it, I'd have been equally as pissed, you know. But they called it a first down. If they had called it a first down for the Raiders, I would have lived with it.
Right. And we're that close to being 2-1-1 instead we're 1-2-1. Now, on that fourth down, so then we got fourth down and 6 inches. And this has been a sort of a topic that people have talked about. Are you going for it?
Absolutely.
It's on the 19. Absolutely. Okay. That's sort of, and I think you can make that first down. And I thought I saw the numbers were like 75 to 85% chance that you get the first down on that. Knowing that percentage is that high, are you still punting that ball?
Yeah, only because, if I turn it over, I'm giving them the ball. I mean, at the 19-yard line, no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, you have to rely on your defense. And it's not like if our defense was just piss poor, which they played piss poor in the second half, so I guess if you want to go by that measure, you could. But our defense has played pretty well this year up until we gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter. And you know, some of that, I mean, what did we give up? 45 total points or whatever it was. But one was a pick six, and then two other times we leave very short fields. So not all those points are necessarily on the defense themselves. Like, the offense did a good job of helping out the Oakland Raiders there, setting them up in good field position. But I kind of feel the same thing. I probably wouldn't have risked it. Maybe that's a bad decision. I'm not sure. I think that one is a little bit more up in the air. Knowing the percentages are that high that you can get the first down there, then maybe we're really giving that credit.
If I'm in Raiders territory, or if I'm even at midfield, I go for it. There was only one. So I got the Raiders getting the ball back at 128 after the punt, with no timeouts.
Yep.
And I think he also returned that one. I don't know, 12 or 15 yards.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And then the Browns missed an open field tackle that would have had the clock running.
We missed 3 tackles in the same play, from what I recall. It was BBC, it was Jamie Collins, and it was TJ Carey. 13 missed tackles on the day is not, and our missed tackles we're averaging like 10 or 11 missed tackles a game right now. Got to get that cleaned up.
Yeah. What is there, like a league average, or?
That's low. Do I have a league average in front of me? No, I was just looking at the totals. Yeah. That's a pretty bad number though, compared to everybody else. Normally you don't have, it's a bad grade overall. I'm looking at Pro Football Focus. Their tackling grade as a team is not good. Very poor. The other one would be, okay, we go up by 7. We score the touchdown. We go up by 7. We have opportunity. And I didn't even think about this during the game. And then I was talking with Pete about it yesterday, and he brought that up. I was like, that's a good point. He's like, since we're going for 2, why are we going for 2 there to make it a 2-score game? Even if you miss it, you're still up by 7. Chances are the Raiders are going to just kick the extra point. And even if they do go for 2, they still only have a 50-50 chance of making it. But if you go for 2 and you get it, the game's basically over at that point.
Yeah, that score was Chubb's touchdown, correct? Yeah.
Yep, 41 yards.
5 minutes to go in the game. You're up 7, 41-34. Yeah, I think you go for 2 there. If you don't get it and the other team scores, they probably just kick the extra point. If you do get it, you're putting a lot of pressure on the other team to score twice. And if you kick the extra point, basically you're giving the other team, okay, now they have to go for 2. Which is a 50-50.
But it's still opportunity. Yeah.
You know, it's a 50-50 situation. Yeah, I think you go for 2.
I mean, what I would
try to win the game.
When teams are down by 7 in those final minutes, how often do teams go for 2 compared to go for 1? I bet you it is overwhelmingly that teams just kick the extra point and tie the game, because coaches get very scared in those. Like, they want to have the opportunity to win the rest of the game rather than just on that one play.
Yeah. I think you see it a little more in college, like a big underdog or like a home underdog will take a shot at it just to like, hey, we don't want to take this into overtime because we're not good enough to, we're lucky to be in this position.
I'm speaking of NFL only here. Yeah, of course. Same thing in high school. You see that a lot in high school.
Yeah, I would almost guarantee if Gruden scores, it kicks the extra point.
Yeah, because it's almost I mean, the more you look at the stats, though, the more you see it's pretty even in your points expected if you go for 2 or you kick the extra point. But it's making more and more sense to just go for 2 in these. It looks like extra points are made about 95.5% of the time, and you're going for 2 is right around 50%. And it fluctuates up and down per year, and just because there's not a lot of them, so there's so many more. There's just so many more extra points than there are 2-point conversions that the numbers get a bit skewed.
I sort of like you score first, you're up 6-0, go for 2. I like it. I always think it's sort of a nice strategy to try to put some extra points on the board. If you don't get it, it's not the end of the day. You can get another one coming back around. If you miss 2, you miss 2. Like, you got to trust your offense can get 2 yards. You got a good quarterback. You got a running back that can fall forward. You got Duke back there. You have dudes like Njoku who they don't use around the goal line, but should be, a target on 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
To try to match him up with somebody smaller and let him use his athleticism to catch something, but they don't really run Njoku like across the formation at all. I don't know.
No, I'm not loving the way they're using Njoku so far at all. He hasn't been very good, to be honest, and he's got to get better. But I just feel like, he hasn't really. They haven't been putting him in, necessarily the positions that I think they should, exploiting certain matchups and whatnot. But we'll get into that because I got a lot on these wide receivers to talk about. Anything else other in the game? Any takeaways? Like, I thought just going back and watching the All-22, Baker is just seeing the field so much cleaner than what Tyrod was. I mean, he's recognizing, he's using his eyes to move the defense. There was the one, I think it was Higgins in the first half where he's the whole time he's looking left. He's looking left, and Higgins is running a square in, and he just at the last second turns. He knows the whole time he's going to Higgins. He recognizes the defense, but he's just going to make sure that safety's out of that hole. And he's just doing a good job of exploiting. He just knows, like the little floater he threw to Duke. It's just throwing it to the open part of the field. And I really think Haley needs to let more of those opportunities for Baker to read the field rather than, all right, we're gonna set up these sort of gimmicky plays where we're going to do flips to Callaway or try to work the screen games, and which hasn't worked up to this point. I mean, if they can get them to work, then that's one thing, but we haven't been able to really get screens to work and since preseason, honestly. So
it's been rough.
Defensively was tough. I think the other thing is with Mitchell going out, that's going to be a much bigger injury than what we realize at this point.
Yeah, he's played well.
It's going to take a major toll. EJ Gaines is going to step in. He showed up on the depth chart as the starter, as he should be. TJ Carey has no business playing as a boundary corner at all. He's primarily a nickel guy. Play him against your slot receivers. Let him tackle in space. He's usually pretty good with that. But he just athletically, he can't keep up with guys on the outside. EJ Gaines is going to be there. Then they brought in Jeremiah McKinnon, who was on the practice squad. He was with us in the preseason, played well in the preseason. Now, of course, he wasn't going up against the number ones or anything, but he's a boundary cornerback. Because right now on our roster, we've got BBC, we've got Denzel Rice, we've got EJ Gaines, and those guys really should all just be playing the nickel corner. That's it. They shouldn't be playing on the outside at all. So that only really leaves us with 3 outside corners, in my opinion. and that's EJ Gaines, Denzel Ward, and now McKinnon.
Yeah, so you got a backup now, somebody you can throw in there if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to play McKinnon over Carey if one of those guys get injured. And if one of them this is what we talked about. I mean, we're deeper at that position than we were last year, but it's still not great. I mean, there's still a drop off. Especially Denzel Ward is the one that's by far playing the best. And if he got hurt, we'd just be in a world of trouble.
Yeah. What happened to Mitchell? He broke his arm?
I think so. Broken wrist. He had surgery yesterday.
Yeah, he went on the IR, but I think he's eligible to return.
Yeah, I wonder what the timetable is for that exactly. The other thing, so we were blitzing at a rate higher than anybody else. Okay, we blitzed. Before the game, we were at 41% blitzing the quarterback, and we blitzed Carr 43% of the time in this game. And that's the one thing with Greg Williams. He tends to get very aggressive at times. But if you look at the numbers in this game, I don't know if there was anything they could do really to stop Derek Carr. Because if you look at the numbers, I'm going to bring it up real quick here. So when Carr was blitzed, he was 15 of 24, completing 62.5% of his passes for an 8.8 yards per attempt. Okay, he did throw the 2 picks when he was blitzed. Okay, but when he wasn't blitzed, he was 20 of 34. The completion percentage was lower. His yards per attempt were lower, but he gave up. That's when we gave up the 4 touchdowns. So when you look at it, when he was blitzed, his grade, PFF grade, was dramatically lower. He went from a 56.7 when he was blitzed to an 87.6 when not blitzed. So when he wasn't blitzed, he was standing back there and sort of picking apart. His completion percentage, like I said, wasn't that high, but he also had 6 drop passes on those 34 attempts. So had he completed those, one of those was probably that Martavis Bryant one, which would have been a touchdown. So you're talking about 5. That would have been the 5th touchdown right there. But they didn't. The Browns just, I don't know what it is, because I was really thinking at the beginning of the year we were going to be able to have a lot more opportunity to just blitz, to only rush 4 guys, to just get the front 4 defensive line creating pressure. But as these numbers are showing, it didn't really reflect it that way. Carr actually had an easier time, or just as easy time going against the blitz than when not going against the blitz. We'll see going forward. I mean, I'm not looking at all the games, but just this game, because that was brought up quite often. Well, you have to do something different with Carr. You can't just keep blitzing him over and over. It's not working. Well, the numbers are reflecting that nothing was working. You basically just got picked apart. Maybe our expectations of this defense are a little bit higher than what we expect. I don't know if you saw what's the Benjamin Albright. He was saying that in his opinion the Browns were one of the top 5 defenses in the league. I think we're a little premature going ahead and declaring the Browns a top 5 defense in this league right now. What do you think?
No, yeah, I agree with you. It's they still need to clean up the underneath, but when you're blitzing, that's the stuff that opens up.
Yep.
Cook had a boatload of catches. Tight ends always killing us still.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah. I
really
mean,
over
but
the top.
like I said, they picked us. Oh, they hit us over the top with the double moves and whatnot. Of course they did. And then the Martavis Bryant drop. I mean, good Lord, could you get any more open than that? But we'll see, man. I mean, really, we can put this down as a bad day for the defense. They played much better against New Orleans, and maybe Derek Carr just had their number. We'll see going forward. I mean, another tough matchup coming this week, because Baltimore. Before we'd always say, well, Baltimore's not going to do anything, but Baltimore's actually throwing the ball around the yard a little bit, and Flacco's having a pretty good year so far. So it'll be another tough game for the defense coming up. But that's, for the most part, that's what I had on that game. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let's jump in here, because I wanted to get into some of like these position groups, sort of where we sit through the first quarter of the year. We don't even need to talk that much about quarterback, obviously. Is there any, after that loss Are you ready to go back to Tyrod at all, in your opinion?
No, I don't think anyone is. I'm pretty sure everyone's on board the Mayfield train.
Yeah. There was one guy complaining. I did notice that. It's probably just all about getting any kind of recognition. One guy saying that this game was completely on Mayfield. That's pretty funny to me. That if you came away watching that, anybody complaining about the offense almost at this point when we just scored 42 points. I mean, good Lord. When's the last time the Browns scored 42 points? Come on.
Right.
But, so just a little comparison here. If you go by Pro Football Focus numbers, Baker Mayfield's an 88.2. That's his offensive overall number compared to Tyrod Taylor, which is a 46.9. Tyrod's thrown 60 more passes, so maybe in those next 60 passes, Baker throws like 12 picks and brings his number way down. But as it looks, Baker is by far the better passer, and this doesn't even need to be questioned. And we can just go ahead and move right into the running backs here, if you don't mind, because this is where we actually have some discussion to have. We come away with Nick Chubb having 3 carries for 100 and some yards. And the real battle here would be with Carlos Hyde. And Carlos he's done a nice job. I mean, I'm not saying Carlos Hyde's been terrible, but the one knock on Chubb is his pass blocking, right?
Yeah.
Why everybody says, well, you can't play Chubb. He's a bad pass blocker. Hyde, he's a better blocker. I don't think people are giving Hyde way too much credit. Look at the one sack fumble. That Baker, what was that, in the second half of the fourth quarter even? Zeitler gets the credit for giving up that sack fumble. But if you watch Hyde on that, Hyde blocks Zeitler.
Yeah.
And allows the defensive tackle then to make the play. That, to me, that's the kind of plays that you get out of Hyde often. And he's been, and throughout his career, he's been a bad pass blocker. The highest rating he's ever had as a pass blocker by Pro Football Focus is a 70. He was a 72.3 back in 2015, which is slightly above average. But since then, it's been all downhill, and he's been well below average, and he continues to be well below average this year. Right now, he's at a 46 point. Now Chubb is at the lowest grade I've ever seen anybody ever given for a pass blocking grade. He's at a 3.1. That's on one pass block opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
Okay?
I was going to say there shouldn't be much. I don't think there's much data to go on there.
One play. If you remember that one, went to the wrong side. But if we're just talking about pure running ability, Nick, I think, has proven without question is the better runner.
Yeah,
and in that,
he's more elusive.
Just in that alone,
he's faster. He's more agile. He just needs to see the field, and probably does any running back come into the league as a good blocker?
Oh no! All right, let's get to the wide receiver group, because this is the one we've talked about quite often. So you brought this up to me, Jarvis Landry. Is he worth what he's getting? I'm using Football Outsiders. This is their they use the DVOA, right? Defense adjusted yards above replacement. Basically, it's saying, all right, where are you at against a replacement level player? And then they rank them all. And if you go on there, like it's pretty. Antonio Brown's number 1. Okay, like he'll fluctuate from 1 to 10. Like it's the good receivers are on top, the bad receivers are on the bottom. It's a pretty even, good way to just figure out where you kind of rank. Jarvis Landry for this season is the 58th ranked wide receiver on there. Okay. So then I was like, okay, maybe it's just, bad quarterback play. Let me go back and look at his previous seasons. He was the 59th ranked wide receiver last year. And the year before that, he was, I believe, this is the highest he's ever been in his career, is the 22nd. And he's being paid as what is his pay rate right now?
I don't know, top 3 probably.
It's top 10. That much is for sure, right? We agree with that. It's definitely top 10. So his adjusted value is actually one place higher than Rashard Higgins. Higgins is at 59th, who makes like $600,000 a year. And out of 75 ranked wide receivers, Antonio Callaway is 73rd. This is our wide receiver group. And we've talked about if we lose one of these guys, we're in trouble. That's how bad of a place we are right now with this wide receiver group. This might be our biggest need.
Yeah. We need somebody in there that can make a play.
I mean, we might be spending our first round draft pick on a wide receiver this year. It almost, unless there's going to be a high quality wide receiver in free agency, I just don't see how we expect Baker Mayfield to produce at a high level. So then, okay, if you don't believe in the DVOA and you're against the Football Outsiders way of ranking people, okay, I brought up the PFF. So I go over to Pro Football Focus. Where does Landry rank? He's 41st. 41st in the league. Higgins is 97th, and Callaway is 120th on that list. This is not good. We have to do much better at this wide receiver group, and I don't see there being a fix out there right away. Do you think just having Baker Mayfield like this wide receiver group is going to be better?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because there's no one else to catch passes, so they're going to have to do it. We know they can. They just hang on to the ball. Higgins has been a nice little surprise coming into his third year.
Higgins is the only one that catches the ball consistently so far. But he can't give you any value after the catch. That's his problem.
Well, that's sort of Landry. I mean, Landry pretty much catches everything. I know he had a couple drops or something in the last one and took a lot of heat for it, but that happens. But he's just he doesn't really like separate from anybody. Like every catch he makes has to be a tough catch.
Yeah.
He's not coming across the middle like Callaway and taking that one to the house. You know, the 59-yarder. Callaway can run away from people, but I mean, Landry's good at what he does. He's just he caught a touchdown that any of our wide receivers should have caught based on the pass alone. And Landry used his hands well to keep the corner off of him. He's good at that. Like,
yeah,
I know we need the guy here.
Yeah, that's what we had talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like I was saying, it's you at this point. If you don't have him, you're screwed. But at the same time, you can just do so much better. You know, that much, and that's almost like something that is sacrilegious to say. Like, oh my God, how can you say that about Jarvis Landry? But it's if you just look at and you take his career in general, and you take all these numbers, that's where he is. I mean, he is not a top 10 receiver in this league. There's just you can't make that argument at all.
The only argument you can ever make is, well, he had 100 catches and he's got 1,000 yards or whatever. Like,
and they're saying if you gave the same opportunity to a replacement level player, you're going to get the same kind of production. That's what they're saying at Football Outsiders.
Yeah, that's DVOA.
So, the wide receiver group is bad. Callaway had a historically terrible game this last game, and I think he can obviously improve there, but it's just a lot of inexperience. And then his DVOA is 45th out of 51 tight ends. Okay,
that's Njoku you're talking about?
David Njoku is 45th out of 51 ranking. If you go to Darren Fells, he doesn't qualify because of the number of opportunities he's had, but he would be near the top of the list. And I think part of that happens is because he makes that big grab. But Darren Fells has been more reliable than David Njoku right now. So I almost think that they're going to need to be giving Darren Fells a little bit more opportunity here until David Njoku gets out of his little funk here. I mean, right now you got Darren Fells at 133 snaps on the year, and David Njoku's doubling that. And Seth DeValve hasn't even come back. Seth DeValve's barely even contributed. He's played 6 snaps on the year. He's, banged up, and that he needs to come back. But Njoku's just absolutely killing you. If you look at an overall ranking of the whole team, Darren Fells is the 5th on the offense, 5th highest rated offensive player by Pro Football Focus, and David Njoku is the 4th worst. So there's quite a big difference there in what you're getting out of both of them. Njoku, now the one thing we've always talked about with Njoku is he's just not going to be a good pass blocker. He's not going to be a good run blocker. He's been better. He's been right around average at both of those this year. That's improving. That's a good sign. But now if he's going to get a hand on the ball, he's got to catch the goddamn thing. And Fells is exactly what we thought he was going to be. He's going to be that guy who gives you run blocking. He's going to be able to pass protect, but he's also catching the ball when he's getting opportunities there. So is your upside more with David Njoku? Without a doubt, but we also need guys that are just going to catch the ball consistently for Baker.
Yeah, I'd still like to see them be a little more creative with Njoku and see if they can get him open on some linebackers and stuff and work him across the formations so that he can, sort of surprise a linebacker. You also kind of need him out there so the safety has to pay attention to him if a linebacker's on him.
Yeah.
To try to get Higgins and Landry open because, they're not beating anybody with help. You really got to get Landry one-on-one. Higgins has to be one-on-one. In most cases, Callaway's probably got to be one-on-one. We don't really have anyone that can trick anybody right now. And so I think Njoku has to be on the field. But when the ball's thrown his way, he's going to have to catch it and do something more than he is now. Maybe it's just an early season slump. As we start to get rolling here, he'll come into form, hopefully.
Well, yeah, this is only 4 games in, but we haven't really seen what we expect. This is actually what I did expect. This is what I was saying at the beginning of the year. I expect David Njoku to be super inconsistent yet. He's so young. I don't think we can expect him to be this guy that's going to catch 80 balls. And he's kind of, I thought he was going to be a little better in this, but this is still him being a young guy. It's the same with Callaway. Now, don't be surprised if Njoku ends up having, a 5 catch for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game coming up here. Don't be surprised if Callaway does the same thing. I think you're going to have those real high highs and those real low lows, and it's just a matter of getting those more consistent, just getting more experience. You might just need to use a little bit more Darren Fells, a little bit more two tight end sets, which they use quite a bit of so far this year. So we just got to find guys to be more reliable. That's sort of my thing here.
No, I agree with you. You're really beyond those 3 receivers and Njoku. You don't. Streeter had 5 snaps. Willie's had 2 snaps. I mean, they're not really throwing anybody out there. Ratley was inactive this week.
Yeah, were you surprised that Streeter was active and Ratley was inactive?
Well, Streeter had 17 special teams snaps, so I'm assuming it came down to what he can do on special teams. I don't know if he's playing on kickoff or punt or what. It's not broken down like that. We need to do something with special teams as well. So our special teams is awful.
Special teams is awful. We can get and if you don't trust Football Outsiders and you're unsure if they know what they're talking about, they have the Browns as by far the worst special teams, and it's almost double as bad as the 31st ranked team. So that right there should show you they know what they're talking about. They're just all over them. Same thing. Pro Football Focus has them as the worst special teams group. There's no question in anybody's mind. The special teams is horrendous, and they need to be bringing in. If Rod Streeter can add value to your special teams, and you have to cut Derek Willies or whoever, we need to find guys that play special teams. That much is for sure.
Yeah, Willie's played 21 snaps. I mean, Ward's out there on punt coverage. Like, Garrett played 10 special teams. Oh, because he's playing in the field goal defense. Crazy. Yeah, I mean, nobody plays so many dudes on special teams. Like, there's so many combinations of guys here. They're looking anywhere just to get dudes on the field.
Well, your field goal block is going to have a very different mix than your punt return.
Yeah.
So.
But literally everybody.
I mean, nobody's tackling. It doesn't look like people are in position to tackle. Nobody's in position to make a block. I mean, the punt returners are getting ripped. I'm telling you, I don't even think half of it's even their fault. I don't think they're given opportunity because the blocking's so shitty. And it really, it falls on Hugh Jackson because he hired this. He brought this guy in, Amos Jones. Everybody knew Amos Jones was a lame duck coach. He was terrible. He was terrible in Arizona. Can't get the job done. Hugh brings him in. Hugh might as well just fire him at this point and take over the special teams, like I said just the other day. But it's not even in question. Special teams is going to lose us a game. That's for sure. What game it's going to be, I don't know. But it needs to get fixed. It needs to get fixed now.
may have lost some already. I mean,
well, true. If you count, how much is it? Okay, the special teams coordinator, how much control does he have over missed kicks? The missed kicks, I don't really want to put it on him, but the constant long returns, you're right. The constant long returns, it's got to get fixed. And if it's a problem with personnel, then like I said, you have to drop guys that are on the end of your roster. These guys that are sitting there at the 48th, 49th roster spot aren't contributing. No, we have to keep, Chad Thomas was a 3rd-round pick. He's got 0 stats in any bracket whatsoever through 4 games. He's, we had to keep him and we need Chris Smith. We need these, we had to pick up the dude from the Vikings to sit on the bench and then get cut. We have to pick up Devereaux Lawrence to contribute 0.
Be inactive, yeah.
So same thing with the kid from Detroit that they picked up, the defensive end. You pick him up, and because you can't rely on a rookie you just drafted, why would you waste a 3rd-round pick on that rookie? It doesn't make sense. And then our special teams suffers because of this. It's just a bad team setup right now when it comes to that. They put no focus on special teams, and this is what happens. You lose games because of it.
Did you notice, to go back to the Raiders game, speaking of these dudes we're just talking about, the Browns went up 17-7. Greg Williams he did that wholesale change. Put in Zettel, Davis, Chad Thomas, and Chris Smith for 5 snaps.
And then pulled their asses out. Jesus Christ, they're terrible. Got to get them out of here. But how do you expect these guys really to succeed? They haven't been there. I mean, Carl Davis comes in, he's playing in a completely different scheme. The Baltimore plays a 3-4, comes over here's a whole new job. This is what you have to do. Learn it in a week. Anthony Zettel will pick you up after the season's already started. Chad Thomas, he's played 19 plays. He has 0 total pressures, 0 sacks, 0 hits, 0 hurries, 0 batted ball, nothing. And I don't know if you saw him. Did you go back and watch the game and see him get pancaked like 3 times in a row?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive on 5 plays.
It was terrible. It's so aggravating. But
I get if you want to get these guys some playing time, sort of rotate them in with the starters so that maybe like
one guy at a time.
Garrett can pull some pressure off of the left end, and then Chris Smith can do something. But when you just wholesale change, it seems like you're just giving the offensive line of the Raiders a break.
Yeah, Garrett's taken 12 plays off this year. That's it. And then
how sustainable is that though? Like,
it's not. You're wondering when you get in these overtime games, how much does he have left? And I know he's going hard as hell, but good Lord, like you got to think at that point he's pretty winded.
Yeah, I like to see go down a few snaps if you can get them off the field in certain spots, and then especially when they're just going up and down the field like this. It's a long game. They play a 4-hour game. It's a lot of plays. But, when you don't have any depth that you can rely on, then this is what happens.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And I mean, part of that is you could have, made some moves in the draft. We have like Austin Corbett. I want to get into the offensive line. Has Austin Corbett been active for any games yet?
Yeah.
He has?
Yeah, I think
What game was he active for? Last game?
Yeah, I think he was on the list.
He hasn't played a down though, right?
No, I don't think he's played.
And look, maybe he'll be fine. But they go and add, what's his name?
Watford?
What's it? Yeah, who's just been. He hasn't done anything. What's the point of? I just still don't understand why we're putting Earl Watford out there. He's played 6 snaps. His grade's a 52.7. If you go and watch him, he's not doing anything on those snaps. He's getting beat on his 6 snaps, and we got a 2nd-round pick there that can't even get active for these games. What does that tell you about the complete lack of confidence they seem to have in Austin Corbett? And that kind of worries me, because I didn't think he was, he wasn't great in the preseason, but it wasn't like he was absolutely killing you. And then you get an opportunity to get into the game here, and they're choosing Earl Watford, who's never been good in his career, over a guy that you just drafted with the 1st pick in the 2nd round.
Yeah. Just for the hell of it, Corbett was active for New Orleans and the Jets game.
Oh, he has 6 actual snaps as well. So we were wrong there. He has 6 snaps.
When they're bringing in the extra.
Yep. Yeah, in the extra, and he's a 59.7 in those 6 snaps, and Watford's that's such a it's hard to really
right.
That's such a small sample size, but that is what it is. So they both have 6 snaps at this point, but he keeps being inactive, which is surprising to me. I do want to talk about Desmond Harrison, though. How about Desmond Harrison? He's been a nice surprise. His pass blocking grade, a 78.5, which is very nice. He's not nearly as good in the run blocking. And there was another play this last game where the rest of the offensive line's doing one thing and Desmond Harrison's sort of doing his own. So I think we're still dealing with some rookie growing pains with him.
Yep, going to have that with a young team. It's part of it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, were you expecting Desmond Harrison to actually play this well so far? Because I was not. I've been pleasantly surprised with his output so far.
Yeah, no, I think we got to be happy that he's come in and done stuff. So
this is not just offensive line by itself, but in the past game we've given up 16 sacks at 10.7% of our passes. That's not on all offensive line, but it's part of it. That ranks 28th in the league out of 32 on dropping back almost 11% of your passes. You're getting sacked on. So that needs to improve, and it has improved under Mayfield. You can already see Mayfield gets the ball out early. A lot of this is skewed because of Tyrod taking so many sacks early.
Yeah, Mayfield had 41 attempts and only sacked twice in this past game. So, and
one of them was an unblocked. You could almost say that was a scheme thing. It's on the play action rollout where with the unblocked man.
Oh yeah.
He was there was nothing he could do. He stood no chance whatsoever. So that's not an offensive line problem there. The one sack was attributed to the offensive line. That was Zeitler. And if you go back, like I said, and watch it, Carlos Hyde actually blocks Zeitler. It was like the pick play. Somehow Carlos Hyde's playing for Oakland on that play. Picks Zeitler, and then the defensive tackle from Michigan gets the sack fumble. The other one where we said we needed to be better. This is on runs on 3rd down or 4th down under 2 yards. This is what we talked about last year. We weren't good in this situation, right? Well, we haven't been good yet this year. We only convert on those runs 42% of the time. That's 31st in the league. So we have, and it probably would be a little bit higher had we not got that call reversed. It might be up to almost 50%, but it needs to be better. We thought that was the reason why we wanted to bring in Chubb and we wanted to bring in Hyde, is that this is going to give us more of a power game. It hasn't been there yet. So it's only a quarter of a season. That's something that I want to see improve as we go along as well.
Yeah.
All right, I know we already talked a little bit about the defensive line, but let's get into the defense here. In that same stat, 3rd down and 4th down, under 2 yards conversion rate, the defense is stopping the offense at 63% of the time. That ranks 11th in the league, and we are getting a run of 0 or less, so a run of 0 or a loss on 26% of runs. That ranks 5th in the league. And if you look at that, like the stop percentage is what Pro Football Focus calls it. Myles Garrett has 17 stops on the year in 112 run defense plays, and that's a work of art. Followed by Larry Ogunjobi at 12. And Joe Schobert at 10. So Myles, if you especially in this last game, you saw in that 4th quarter, Myles was making a number of big plays in the run game. So he's been excellent there. And obviously we think he can just keep getting better. 90.3 run defense grade by Myles. That's much higher than what he was last year. I think he was around like 75. His pass rush has been slightly down. He's at 75.7. He's got 14 pressures on 163 pass rush opportunities, and only outdone by Larry Ogunjobi. So we see this all the time. Ogunjobi's getting the middle pressure, Garrett's getting the outside pressure, and then we're also getting pressure from Jannard Avery, doesn't it seem this is what I was talking about? Doesn't it seem like we should just be able to rush 4 and get the job done?
Yeah,
it's crazy. So Ogunjobi's got 15 of those pressures on 162 pass rush opportunities. So he's won over Miles, and I'm sure they're probably going at one another about who's going to get the most. But Miles has 5 sacks on the year so far. They don't do half sacks at Pro Football Focus, by the way. Anybody on the defensive line that you want to cover?
I think we talked about the depth enough.
Agba getting back is obviously a plus, but really he just hasn't been getting as much pressure as I want to see him get. He's only got 3 pressures on 62 pass rush opportunities. You really want to get that number like 1 out of every 12 pass rushes, 1 out of every 10, and he's 1 out of every 20 getting a pressure. So, this game, it seemed like Carr was getting the ball out relatively quick, so that didn't help it. But he did have, 3 batted passes. That was a good thing. So for whatever reason, man, Agba seems to have a knack for getting batted passes.
Yeah.
So he's getting that done. That's really it. I mean, Chris Smith, he's played more snaps than what Agba has, but he hasn't contributed as much. Let's get to that linebacker group, because this is the one group I really wanted to talk about here. So Schobert is playing very well, and he's playing in coverage. He's 84.3 is what we really needed him to do, and he's really upped his game there, because we just struggled. All of them were terrible last year, if you remember, right. Our linebackers, but he's really getting it done. The one player who's been underwhelming, and I've talked about this for some time, is Christian Kirksey. He's got a 33.7 grade from Pro Football Focus. His coverage grade 35.8. And remember why we brought in Christian Kirksey? We drafted Christian Kirksey to be a guy who can cover tight ends, and he's just consistently not getting the job done. The opposing quarterbacks are 9 of 10 for 112 yards passing against Kirksey.
Yikes.
Yep. 89 of those yards is yards after catch. 89 of 112 yards after catch.
So he's not even close.
Not even close. So Burgess, he's been banged up, but I honestly want to see more James Burgess than what I see Christian Kirksey.
Yeah,
Are you
Burgess
against
is
that at all?
dealing with a concussion, right?
Yeah, well, he's been injured a couple different times this year so far. Schobert dove into his knee. He's probably going to be out for weeks, but when he comes back, I want to see more James Burgess than what I'm seeing Christian Kirksey, unless Kirksey somehow turns this around. I mean, all of them have been bad at tackling. We've had missed tackles, like I said, all across the board. Schobert's got 7 missed tackles on the year. Collins has got 6. Burgess has 4. Kirksey has 2, and Burgess and Kirksey are in limited opportunities because they both miss games. So it just needs to be a better tackling group all around there. But I think Jamie Collins hasn't been exactly like real good or anything, but he's been better than what he was. And if he was tackling better, we'd probably be he would probably be graded a little bit higher than what he is. He's a 52.9 overall grading from Pro Football Focus on him as well. What are you liking? What are you disliking about this linebacker group right now?
It just seems a lot like last year. Collins only played 52 snaps in this past game. That's only 57%. Are they working him out and putting Avery in? What are they playing Jabril and Kindred? Well, Jabril only played 40% of the snaps.
Yeah, what was Kindred's snap count?
60%. So they might have been playing those guys exactly opposite.
Yeah, Kindred has more snaps than Jabril Peppers, but Peppers has played better in my opinion. Kindred is kind of struggling. Missing tackles as well. He's got 4 missed tackles on the year. He was so good at getting quick pressure and getting quick in the run game, getting behind the line of scrimmage and making a big play, and we really haven't seen him do that very much this year on those run blitzes that they did so often last year.
Yeah, I'd like to look at this game closer where Collins is off the field and figure out who they're running on the field, if it's Avery, if it's somebody else, because that's...
Yeah, what was Kirksey's overall snap percentage, though, this week?
Played 90%. So
yeah, so Kirksey
played
was
100.
That's what I mean. Like, I would rather have Jamie Collins out there than Christian Kirksey. Kirksey has not produced. I was dumbfounded when they gave him that contract, honestly. And I know people like him. He seems to be a good leader, but good Lord, he's just not good on the field.
Yeah, it just feels a lot like last year with the linebackers.
Well, it's pretty much the same group. I mean, It is the same group. They have one guy who's now completely suspended from the league with Michael Kendricks. So, right, yeah. I mean, how much are you going to see differently when you have the exact same players playing the exact same scheme for the most part?
I don't know. I mean, like they see, the secondary seemed worse last year than this year, but
sure.
The linebackers seemed to be playing relatively.
I feel like Schobert's playing a lot better.
Maybe it's
a lot better this year
and not player.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think they have very good linebackers as well. Outside, I think Schobert is a difference maker. I think Burgess still makes way too many mistakes because he's just in his second year. But I think he's got more upside, a lot more upside than what Kirksey gives you. And Collins is just kind of doing Jamie Collins stuff. Now he did get the sack this past week, but Collins seems to make as many mental errors as he does making good plays. Yeah. It seems like often there was one play, I wish I knew exactly what it was, where Schobert is playing his gap, and then here comes Christian Kirksey just ramming into him and not playing, and then the play gets cut back right through where Kirksey's just over aggressive at times when he doesn't need to be.
Right.
And I don't know how Greg Williams allows him. What's that?
Just play your position. Trust your teammates.
Yeah. And Greg Williams is a guy that's all about do your job and discipline. How does he keep allowing Kirksey to do that? How does he keep allowing Collins to do that? Because I see that so often. These guys are overrunning, just being over aggressive and trying to do too much. Just do your job and let each other make plays.
Yeah, it seems like we have a boatload of runs that, like you said, we're doing well, like tackles for loss, but it seems like we have a boatload of runs that should be 3 or 4 yard gains that turn into 12-yard gains and first downs.
Yeah.
And they're just so frustrating when they're over pursuing one way or the other and not holding their responsibilities.
Yep, I agree. But we'll see what we get going forward there, how they're going to separate that playing time. Because that was sort of a position where we actually have some depth, and then Michael Kendricks goes out, Burgess gets hurt, and then we're back to our exact same lineup we had last year. But yeah, you said,
do you have coverage for Avery? Did he play in coverage at all this week?
Oh, I don't have it broken down by game. Oh, for the year, he's played 19 snaps in coverage. Garrett's played 19 snaps in coverage. I don't know if you notice what they're doing when they line them up, and they're and both of those two are standing up on the outside. They'll have two down defensive tackles, sort of, usually Ogunjobi and Agba. Then they have
Coley runs into sometimes.
Okay, and then on the outside, they have those two, and they'll drop both at the same time, and then they'll blitz the linebackers instead. Sort of like a zone blitz, which if you're going to do a zone blitz, I would rather you use Garrett. And I know people don't want to see Garrett dropping back in coverage, but at least he can cover. But I'd rather have you drop Garrett and Avery back in coverage than taking Coley or Ogunjobi and putting those guys in coverage. It does, at least have guys that can athletically stay with people. We know Avery can do it. He did it in college. And Myles Garrett is the freakiest of freaks. You could probably put Myles. If you're getting killed by Jared Cook the whole game, you might as well just take Myles and cover him with him, honestly. So let's get to that cornerback situation. Like, we know Terrence Mitchell's out. We talked about that. It's got to be EJ Gaines that steps in there. He's only played 42 snaps. I think he was actually even hurt in this last game. I think he missed some snaps, and that's why they ended up having to put, what's his name out there, TJ Carey, who just absolutely got toasted. And has no business being out there. Hopefully EJ Gaines can pick up that slack. Terrence Mitchell is a guy that you can sort of just play in man coverage and not really have to worry about. And I know he gave up a couple catches in this last game. But EJ Gaines, when he was with Buffalo, they played a lot of cover 3 with him. And he would, he was just kind of keeping things in front of him. We're going to find out now if he can, man up a guy and take him away, because on the opposite side, you're doing that with Denzel Ward. And if you can get those two corners to just take away their guy instantly and give time for Agba, Ogunjobi, Garrett, and those guys to get to the quarterback, you're going to see a lot more of that just rushing forward. But you have to be able to take away the quick pass,
Yeah.
And they haven't done a good job of that up to this point. So if you look, the best coverage guy by far is Denzel Ward. His coverage grade is an 82.4. That fourth overall pick, obviously paying big dividends at this point. Other than him, I mean, it's all downhill. The next highest is Terrence Mitchell at 60.3. Then EJ Gaines is a 55.1. TJ Carey's a 52.9. And BBC is really struggling. We talked about that, and it's too bad. He's a 43.5, and a lot of those were big plays that he gave up against Juju Smith early on. I mean, he's giving up 19.3 yards per reception right now, BBC.
Yeah, yikes.
Ugh.
He's been so good, too.
He was, I know.
Happened.
He might be a little bit better as your safety, But let's get to that next. We've only played 3 safeties. We talked about it, Kindred and Peppers. They are switching time. But this guy has been one of the best players on the defense this year, and that's Demarius Randall. I think he's paid big dividends so far. That was a great trade to get rid of some dead weight in Kaiser, who was never going to see the field ever. I don't remember what it was. It was Kaiser and maybe like a 4th round or something.
No, they flipped. 4th and 5th rounds.
Okay. Yeah. So something there. But Demarius Randall, he's got 3 picks or 2 picks on the year. He's been targeted 8 times and only gave up 2 receptions. One of them was a touchdown, but that's okay. If you're only giving up 25% completion percentage, you're doing your job. 15 tackles on the year. I just think we didn't have that last year. Obviously, we had Jabril Peppers back there who shouldn't have been in that position. They probably should have had BBC back there playing it last year. But Demarius Randall actually gives you a guy in the back end that you can rely on. And he's one of the few guys that's actually, he hasn't missed a tackle. So he's had 15 tackles and hasn't missed one. So he's by far the highest graded tackler on the team as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so they got good value out of him. All right, so that's all I really got on the roster.
Nice little first quarter breakdown.
You want to jump into this Ravens game a little bit?
Oh, yeah. We have a game this weekend, Sunday afternoon. Ravens 3-1 will travel to Cleveland, 1-2-1. Browns are a 3-point underdog.
Jeez. Think that's enough?
I don't know. Ravens scoring like 31 points a game and only allowing 16. They've had a pretty good season so far. They've beat Pittsburgh on the road, and then they won home games against Denver and crushed Buffalo, and then lost to Cincinnati on the road in week 2.
Yeah, you know what? Cincinnati is actually pretty decent this year. That's another. It's crazy that Pittsburgh's been terrible. The Bengals and the Ravens are actually 2 decent teams, it looks like.
I keep thinking that the Ravens and the Bengals are going to fall off of here sometime eventually, and they keep not doing it. Of course,
well, you brought it up. You
Bengals,
just said they're averaging 31 points per game, and they're only giving up 16. It's tough to lose games when you're playing like that. I mean, they're killing it. They're just offensively, they're actually getting it done. I mean, they're 8th in the pass game, 308 yards a game. They're only 23rd in the run, but they're just getting it done in the pass game, and a lot of that is you get a guy that can stretch the field in John Brown. Michael Crabtree's just doing Michael Crabtree stuff, but if Michael Crabtree's your second or third guy, then you're doing fine. And the other thing, they have a tight end there. Baker Mayfield's own Oklahoma teammate Mark Andrews is getting the job done out of the tight end position, and they're just able to get things, get Flacco with guys actually open downfield, and he's completing it this year. But 400 yards of offense on average. So I mean, who would have thought that? We always looked at Baltimore and go, well, defensively they're going to be solid, and offensively they're going to be terrible. And that's just not the case so far.
Maybe we can rough them up this week.
I mean, defensively they are still, like the third best defense. Let's see, they're 4th against the pass, 193 yards a game, and they're 4th against the run, 82.5 yards a game. So, I mean, It's going to be a tough game. I don't think we can expect Baker to play to have as many like wide open throws as what he did this past week, and I wouldn't be surprised if Baker has a lot tougher of a game and makes some real rookie mistakes here.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to give him some interesting looks. I'm not worried. We're winning this one.
All right. Here's a crazy stat. The Browns are averaging 25.5 points per game. That's unheard of for the Browns.
Yeah. Generally, it's like 12.
Yeah. But defensively, we're giving up 26 points per game.
Well,
do you know what we gave up?
Considering how many possessions they've played. They've played about 8 games worth of possessions.
Well, yeah, but in overtime, it's one score ends it, basically. But I was actually shocked by this when I looked at it. We're 26 points per game this year. Last year, we ended up for the season giving up 25.6 points per game. We've actually been worse points per game wise this year than what we were last year on defense, which doesn't seem right. Doesn't it seem like our defense has been a hell of a lot better?
Well, you also played New Orleans. You only gave up 21 to them.
Steelers, who have a very good offense.
Yeah, giving up 45 to Oakland is throwing that stat off a little bit.
Sure, but I mean, the Jets are terrible.
Right, you gave up 17.
They kind of balance themselves out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just go for yardage only, and like you said, we basically played 2 extra quarters. They're 24th on the pass defense, giving up 278 yards, and they're 23rd in the run D, giving up 116 yards per game. So it really yardage, it hasn't been very good either.
Yeah, and it's not a whole lot of slouches coming up either. So
no.
Well, we're going to see what this defense is made of over the next quarter. Ravens, Chargers, Bucks, and Steelers. I don't know if I'd worry too much about the Bucks after their sort of implosion.
Well, they're going to put up points. That's what it sure as hell looks like. Now, the Bears have been playing lights out on defense. They didn't put up any points against them, but I bet you they put up points against us.
Yeah, so this is a tough little stretch. Then you got Chiefs, Falcons, Bengals, and Texans. So, in the third quarter of the season, nothing easy there.
What did you say we were going to win? How many games?
I said 4, and then I gave myself a wild card. But I also didn't know, I wasn't expecting Mayfield this early either. So I think we can easily win 5 or 6. There's only 12 games left, so it's,
yeah.
I feel a little better with Mayfield in there than I did with Tyrod.
When you look at it like that, it's a tough schedule. I mean, we said that, but good Lord, it's a lot harder than what we have. A pretty solid division, man. I mean, it's always been like that. But if Cincinnati's playing well and Baltimore's getting the offense going, like the Steelers are going to get the things together that they've been bad defensively. Offensively, they're going to start clicking. They always play terrible at the beginning, and then they really click at the end. Baltimore's defense is, they're gonna keep the game close, and then it's just Flacco can't mess it up for him. I don't think 3 points is enough. Honestly, I think we're gonna lose. Now I'm gonna pick us to win because I always pick us to win in our predictions, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lose this by a touchdown. I think Baker will keep it close within a score or two.
Yeah, they're going to have to do some stuff on offense and get some favorable matchups against the defense and make some plays because it's not going to be easy to run the ball on them. So we can't have Hyde for 2 on first down every play, every first down. You're going to have to get a little creative and try to get some mismatches somewhere across the field. It's just hard to get a mismatch against the Ravens.
Yep. We are the second best running team in the league at 152.8 yards per game. That was a little shocking to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, been getting the job done there. But 24th in the pass, but that was with Tyrod. You got to remember, you got the Tyrod skewing all our offensive.
Tyrod also has the rushing yardage in there, too.
Oh, damn it. Yeah. That is slightly skewed there. And we're +7 in turnover differential, which is usually, you're +7 after 4 games, you're at least 3-1. Not 1-2-1, and the Ravens are even 0, just as many turnovers as giveaways. Takeaways. This is going to be a tough game. If people come out of this and they go, "Hey, Baker, he's 0-2, And he had 2 more turnovers. Like I wouldn't be surprised Baker throws a pick and fumbles one or something like that against this defense. Are people going to come out, and then how many of those people are going to start bad mouthing Baker after 2 games? Yeah. Do you think anybody does that, or do most people recognize that, hey, this kid's a real deal?
I don't know. I mean, it matters how many. If we lose a few in a row over these next 4, people are going to start to get antsy. But
win-loss on Baker, not so much how Baker plays.
What do you mean?
You're saying like if it matters more for Baker for him to win the game than really to put up good stats. For public perception.
For public perception. Yeah. I don't know. You know how the public is. They want W's. But, I mean, if you look at Baker against the Jets, yeah, okay, they won. So, he looked like the second coming. And then they go to Oakland and lose. But I don't know if anybody was like, oh, Baker was terrible. Like, I don't know if that was the overall feeling amongst most people, where we've had that in the past with quarterbacks. Like, oh my God, we'd have no quarterback. We're fucked.
Right.
Like, we got no chance. I think I think you have a chance to win, these next 4 games. Like, if it's a well-called game, if the offense can do some creative things, I don't see, Mayfield will make the throws that he needs to make. So
yeah, are they going to catch the throws?
Right. And and the defense is going to have to keep coming up with turnovers. They're going to have to keep getting favorable field position. They're going to have to help the rookie quarterback out, and special teams is going to have to fucking tackle somebody.
Yeah, it's ugly.
Or maybe a return once in a while that goes somewhere that you can get a little excitement.
It just feels like we're better than 1-2-1 though, man. Like I just feel like we're better than that, and somehow our record is 1-2-1. And now it's Baltimore. Then who? Who do we got next? Tampa.
Baltimore. I don't know. I closed it. Baltimore. Oh. Yeah, Baltimore, Tampa, the Steelers, and the Bengals.
So the Steelers early again. Okay, so both of our Steelers games will be passed.
The Chargers,
hopefully,
I'm sorry. Ravens, Chargers, okay. Bucks, Steelers.
Okay, and the Chargers actually seem to be beatable right now. Like, they have more talent than everybody, but they keep playing down to their opponent. So there's another game that is winnable, but really they have more talent than us without question. Even with Bosa being out, that's not even in question. So they are we playing in San Diego? Or well, it's L.A. I always call them San Diego.
No, it's in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, okay. So that we got that chance.
Yeah, the Steelers will be coming off a bye. They have a bye week 7. Le'Veon Bell has talked about coming back after the bye week.
Yes, of course. Of course he would come back for the game against the Browns. So, that we're a quarter through. We sort of just went over, where we're at now, and then we'll come back and we'll go over where we're at halfway through the season. Let's see how much things start to change. Injuries are going to keep piling up. Let's find out what kind of depth we have going forward. See what Baker can keep doing going forward. My prediction of this game, I'm going to have the Browns 27 and the Ravens 7. Our defense is going to show back up. They're going to hurt Joe Flacco. Lamar Jackson's going to come in, and he's just going to look terrible. And everybody's going to go, thank God we drafted Baker Mayfield.
All right, I'll take 26-8 then. That is my prediction. Browns win.
All right, sounds good. You got anything else?
Nope. Let's get out of here.
All right.
We need some ratings on iTunes. Bastards. Hit the button. Hit the 5-star. Twitter's at STS Podcasts. Email is survivingtheseason@gmail.com. Patreon.com if you want to support the show. Patreon.com/STS Podcasts. Thank you to our newest patrons. We appreciate that very much. Greg, tell them what we say.
Keep on surviving.